This is an incredible space.
I'm just constantly, sourcing material, getting inspired, as you well know. So
Yeah.
every few pages, you want to find a moment that you can pull out and make a visual. I think the author's been incredibly brave. There's no holds barred. He goes to places sometimes in the book where you think, is he going to go there? And he does. And it's it's beautifully written. It's honest. How can I make something beautiful that is a mess? Perfection can be boring.
Yeah.
Genuinely, my favourite pages have probably all been done in fury when I was just throwing things at the design. Every opportunity is, it's how to get everything on the page, to talk to everything else on the page.
Your brainstem just kind of sparks, you feel that little crackle of energy, like when you look at the images. You want to see how the natural light is going to reflect off those inks, and so you've put it in the perfect location to just have that slanting light from the doorway.
It's even like I've been testing the light, how it's going to burn away the Pantones.
One thing I love about the way that you've set up the space is that you get the crazy serial killer vibe also mixed with like just a fun, crazy museum of creativity.
I didn't want to illustrate the book, I wanted to perform it, if you know what I mean. It was just like, and part of that was, I think the writing's so great, but he's very much like Lucas, the main character in it, is like an unreliable narrator, isn't he? And I wanted this idea that you see buildings but you can't quite see them, and then we're using faces and characters but not showing them in absolute detail.
And I feel like I'm living inside the world of process of Matthew's book.
I'm role-playing as the superficial semi-sociopath of the narrator, because this is all meaningful to me,
You have this feeling of tension, of watching it, the meaning start to degrade.
Can we design this book live and have the design unravel with the author?
How did you? As the person sitting in the design seat, how did you keep that from completely overwhelming you?
So we get rid of colour, we do it black and white, and we were using, pretty early on, I showed you this font called 2 Block, and this, looks like junk, obviously. That's vertical strokes, and if I turn off that background, you can see how this is being made up of.
Oh, the letter forms are actually being constructed out of the vertical and the horizontal.
Yeah. It's code, and it's like, it's where, it's just incredibly fun to play with. We spent a long time thinking about what's the level of reflectiveness, what's the level of copper. We were both really excited about this gatefold that we're doing, and it's been a bit of it's a complex thing to do, and there's not many printers who can.
It almost feels like seeing a triptych from an old Flemish master.
That central image is just going to be a huge close-up of an eye, which is going to be literally sliced down the middle and then into basically like the disintegration of Lucas, the character, when he just really sort of loses complete hope. So it's a case of him turning into fractals, turning into polygons.
I've been listening to Kid A and Amnesiac, just around the clock, kind of permanent repeat.
It's been on loop with me the last few weeks, seriously.
What?
The triple album they did recently, the Kid Amnesia, whatever it's called. The third album with all the off-take stuff.
That's the exact same one.
That's our go-to music at the moment. It's just
interestingly, they didn't lose their minds spending a year and a half in the studio. That was the band coming back to life.
We both share this love of like playful work which has added resonance, you know. I used this image because it was quite isolated and lonely, but then I brought it in upside down and preferred it. And then I wanted to make him out of type, but I also wanted to know it was. So this actually says Lucas in that font, and you really have to have started to get to know this font before you would read it. But again, it's something that hopefully, you know, if you skim back to the start of the book after you'd read it, I think some of these things would start to come to the surface.
I mean, this is really where, you know, things get fun.
And I suppose it is that Radiohead B-sides album, isn't it? It's like, well, I'm trying to break as many rules as I can. Your position, you know, as like creative director of this, you know, having like this overall vision, it's not happened to me before. You know, we've both come from a very commercial print publishing background, don't we?
Yeah.
It's not enough just to do this because it looks cool or because I'm a graphic designer and I really like the shape of that font. You know, that's not enough of a reason. And readers know that, you know, readers are smart.
Yeah.
The people you're appealing to are people who respond to this sort of stuff and respect it. And the point is that when they've read the book or they've got halfway through the book, that will have more meaning to them.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's what you're trying to give them, aren't you? You're trying to make an initial impact to seduce them, but you're also trying to give them as much meaning and resonance as possible, so they've got, you know, a rich experience from it. It's absolutely mind-boggling, isn't it, to think that we're still reading Dante now.
That small fluorescent pink planetoid sitting on one of those layers of hell.
In some ways it can seem like a very specific narrative about the tech industry now, displacement, redundancy of men, all these things about male crisis and obsession. It's beautifully written of now and it's incredibly timely, but it's also, you know, timeless, you know.
Even like a sort of face here, like a kind of Pac-Man mouth with it.
These themes are universal and they haven't been answered yet. You know, Dante didn't come up with a solution.
Exactly.
And they are haunting and very relatable, aren't they? I think.
I don't believe that Matthew tried to create an intentional link between the two, but that opening line, I'm sitting in the dark, I have nowhere to address my thoughts. You can't help but hear that echo of that Dante, that opening line. You know, halfway through life, you know, find myself in the darkening wood, you know, whatever translation you're going for, but that feeling of being lost midway through the journey and finding yourself in that the archetypal chaotic environment of the wood.
He mapped each of the characters to a character in hell to say which sin they matched, which was just like he just really got a kick out of doing that, didn't he?
Obsession is the seed. It can be a self-destructive impulse, but it can also be the soil for things, really amazing things to grow, like a vine that sort of grows up, but from a magic beam and snakes up into the clouds and takes you somewhere like really magical and new. It really has been just so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's just felt very mischievous and boundary ignoring and personal in that way.
It's very rare to work on a project which is, I come from the world of poetry, don't I? So I know what it's like to be in a world of absolute, no money involved, very minority, very niche, but you know, people take it seriously. But you know, to work with publishers and people like yourself who are just as committed and just as serious about really important stuff, but actually spend money on it as well, and want to take it out and, you know, just share it with people. You know, it's a very unusual position to be in.
I mean, if you told me that I was going to lose money on this project, which we might,
You're going to lose money on this project.
The people who love this are going to absolutely fucking love it. They're gonna love it.
It's the secret of so many creatives, isn't it? That you always make your best work when you're sort of making it for yourself and your friends, and then other people come on if it's been right, isn't it?
Yeah, I read it in a kind of a different way, but the idea of somebody being strung up, that feels like the sort of torture you could imagine being inflicted on somebody. I will outdark you in it.
You put him on a giblet. Why didn't I do that in the first place? You're the dream publisher, you really are. It's even darker. Now I've just got this amount of text to get on the pages, and it just teaches you just to forget about the flat plan and forget about the rules. Just let the page express itself.